Orale, vato, this is your favorite vato, the straight edge drinking Eddie Islas, and we are drinking at most. Orale.
All right, everybody. Want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure, link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking go.
Welcome, Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, all that good shit, because that YouTube algorithm is a pain in the ass. We're most places you can find your podcast. Today, I'm excited to have with me a rising star out of Southern California, Eddie Islas. How you doing?
Orale, vato, what's going on? It's Eddie Islas here, straight from the 619 San Diego, California. You already know, vato.
Oh yeah, no, I've been looking forward to this because I've seen a lot of your stuff. I try to keep up with, different promotions down in Southern California, because that's actually where I got my start watching independent wrestling, when I was stationed down in San Diego. So I like to keep up little bits here and there, and we'll go into some of the places, including one of the two promotions that got me started. But before we get into all that, I like to start off with everybody with what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started to decide to make the leap into the business.
Well, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This might sound crazy, but since I have memory, I've been liking wrestling. My mom, according to my mom, I've been watching wrestling since I was 8 months old, because she used to watch it, and she used to sit me down with her and watch it. I would watch it myself. I started out watching Lucha Libre back in the 90s. It was CMLL I used to watch back then.
Okay.
And I've been loving wrestling ever since I have memory, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. And what made you decide to finally make the leap into the business?
It's something I've always wanted to do, something I've always had in the back of my mind. There just wasn't wrestling here in San Diego when I was younger. Otherwise, I would have done it a lot sooner, to be honest with you. I started when I started training when I was 23, a little bit older than most, but that's only because there wasn't much wrestling when I was around here in San Diego until like 2013. That's when I went to my first show.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I was first watching wrestling, my dog distracted me trying to drink out of the sink right now. But when I was down there, it was about 09, like late 09 into probably 2010. There was really only New Wave and SoCal Pro, which one of the promotions you're featured and have been pretty heavily involved in there.
Yes. It's funny because when I first decided to start looking into training, New Wave had just recently closed like a month before, So if I would have maybe searched it earlier, I would have probably found New Wave first. But yeah, man, SoCal Pro's been around forever.
Yeah.
Just because the thing about wrestling was that it wasn't so hot back then, so it wasn't really, there wasn't much of an audience for it down here in San Diego like there is now.
Oh yeah, right now it's kind of a hotbed out there. I think they recently changed their name to, what was it, San Diego Wrestling Academy.
Oh no, that's a different company that used to run.
Yeah, that's different from SoCal Pro.
No,
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, SoCal, yeah, definitely a hotbed for, getting trained to be a wrestler now. One of your trainers, actually, I think we mentioned it before, pretty good friend of mine, SoCal Crazy. What was his training like? Because I love talking to him about all that.
SoCal Crazy is a great guy. He's a well-renowned legend here in San Diego, in all of Southern California, to be honest with you. I trained with him a couple times. I wouldn't call him my main trainer. He was really he was a really good trainer in case of fundamentals and stuff. But if I would point out somebody that I consider my main trainer,
Yeah.
Ryan Kidd.
Oh, Ryan Kidd. Okay.
Absolutely. Ryan Kidd. When I first started training, I started training at a place that no longer runs. And he used to come and train us there. Then I moved to SoCal Pro, which is where I currently am, and he used to train us there too. And then I moved to a different place that's not really relevant anymore, and he came in and trained us there too. So basically everywhere I've been, Ryan Kid's been there. But
Okay.
I've got trained by a lot of people. I mean, Ryan Kidd will be the main one, but I got
Yeah.
trained by people like, I picked up a couple things from people like Anthony Idol, Dark Usagi, Huracan, Nightmare Azteca.
Okay.
Crazy, obviously. Everybody. I picked up like small stuff from everybody, to be honest with you. But the main trainer that I probably would point out would be Ryan Kidd.
Ryan Kidd. Okay. And that's kind of a good thing that, a lot of people have talked to me about with getting trained is, going and taking things from everybody that has a hand in training you, taking little things and molding it into your own deal. So that's pretty cool. And you mentioned Ryan Kidd. I actually, damn dogs. The funny thing about Ryan Kidd that I've actually brought this up to him, and you can tell him that you talked to me about it. But when my first ever independent wrestling show was a new wave show, and it was a Perkins Elementary School fundraiser, and all of a sudden, his guy that he had as a tag partner for a while and him ended up sitting right next to me.
Oh, wow.
At that show, front row, and we got to talking, and then he came up here where I am now in Omaha, Nebraska, and I told him about that, and he's like, "Oh crap! I don't think I've ever met anybody that remembered me from back then."
Right? Was he like a 12-year-old back then or something?
Oh God, yeah, no, he
Yeah,
was
right.
nowhere near the build that he has now. And I still remember specifically one show, and this guy's still going. The monster Terex. He was in a match with him, and I just see Terex do these standing moonsaults, multiple onto him, and I'm just like, ow.
Yeah, I took a moonsault from Terex once, and yeah, I got concussed. But I love the big fella though. He's great.
Oh yeah, no, I got nothing but good things to say about him. It was just kind of funny because I remember taking a friend to a show after that, and Terex came out, and like I could tell he was about to do another one. I'm like, dude, watch this. And my friend's jaw just dropped.
Yeah,
Because you don't think, and for people that will listen to this or will watch this on YouTube, I tell you, go and look up Terex on Terex on YouTube, any social media. Watch a match of his where he does that. You do not, I swear, you would not think a guy his size could pull off something like that.
Yeah, as a victim of that moonsault, I can verify to that. Yeah, he could definitely pull that off, and goddamn, that hurts. But
I can imagine. Well, getting back into you, I know you are actually a former holder of the SoCal Pro Golden State Championship. And
Absolutely.
I was actually there when they crowned the first ever one.
Oh wow.
I
Was
was
that Ricky Mandela?
I'm wanting to say it was Ricky Mandel. I mean, Jeff Dino, if he watches this, don't get mad at me if I got that wrong, but I'm wanting to say I'm like 95% sure it was Ricky Mandel.
I want to make that bet too. I think it was Ricky Mandel because Ricky Mandel's been there from the start.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah. I became the Golden State champion last September. I had a match with Fidel Bravo, who was the longest reigning Golden State champion, and yeah, he tried to pull his shenanigans. I had an ace up the sleeve, and I put him down for the 3 count.
Nice. Yeah, I actually remember hearing about that show, and I'm like, all right. Oh, excuse me. And now they got, what is it, Tanner Black. That I'm hearing lots of things about him, and he's now correct me if I'm wrong, the current, excuse me, Golden State champion.
Yes, Tanner Black is a guy that I'm back and forth with. Me and him, we actually there was a rumble in 2018 where we all made our official debuts. It was me, Tanner Black, Tortuga, and a couple other guys. But the guys that stuck around was me, Tanner, and Tortuga. And yeah, Tanner Black he's got something going on. I mean, I could say I have respect for him because he already beat me. I had a chance for his title like last month at this time.
I was wanting to say it was not all that long ago, wasn't it?
No, it was actually on Cinco de Mayo. It was like it was the 4th of May because it was the night before Cinco de Mayo. And yeah, we ended up at his hometown of Temecula, and he defended the belt against me that night.
Now, I can imagine that it's obviously for anybody that gets into the business, a goal is to hold a title in whatever promotion they're in. I can imagine, being a regular with SoCal Pro, I can imagine you're wanting to get in there, for the Golden State or the SoCal Pro title. Hell, maybe even make a run for the tag titles.
Absolutely.
Which one would you say you think you'd like to go for first?
As of this point right now?
Yeah.
At this point right now, I would love to be a tag champion first because I have a real good friendship with Tortuga and our chemistry translates in the ring. So basically, I think we have something there. We just need to go ahead and exploit it. And me and Tortuga, I'm sure we'll be great SoCal Pro Tag Team champions.
I would like to say I've kind of watched a little bit, both separately, and that would be a good fit, I'd like to say. Now, one thing that I was curious about, because I've talked with a whole bunch of people that do this style of wrestling, and I'm talking about the deathmatch style, and I saw that you were in something called the Carnival of Death 2.
Yes.
What was it like being a part of that? Because like I said, I've talked to some deathmatch wrestling legends like Alex Colon, Madman Pondo, some big legends in deathmatch wrestling. What was it like being a part of that Carnival of Death?
It's definitely different. It's not something that I have up my sleeve at any way. However, it's always good to change up your style at least for one night and to try something different, because you don't know what's gonna click. It's always good to throw yourself into the fire and see if it clicks or not.
No, I can see that.
I wrestled. I did two. I've done a couple of death matches in my day. I wouldn't say I prefer those, but
yeah,
I'm open to them pretty much for the right cause. There
I
was
can.
one that I had against the one you're talking about for the Carnival of Death 2. It was me and Chuy Martinez. This is a big guy from Texas, and he's pretty famous in the deathmatch world. And I wasn't aware of it. Honestly, when I saw his name, I raised my hand. I was like, hey, I want to wrestle Chuy Martinez, and everybody, the management just turned around and looked at me. They were like, what the hell? And they were like, okay, done. And I pitched something called the Mexican Death Match, and they didn't know what it was. And what I came up with in my head was it's a match featuring Mexican stuff. Like, we got beans, we got a freaking olla, we got a freaking piñata, you know,
Yeah.
and that's one of my favorite matches, to be honest with you. But yeah, I got banged up pretty bad that day, but I don't regret it. It's something that I wanted to try it out. I tried it out and I did it with one of the best, to be honest with you.
Hey, no, that's one way to definitely. Good grief, dog. This is what happens sometimes on my show. My dogs, they're roaming around. They get crazy. But I've been to a few death matches, a couple shows that it was just a death match in there, and then I've actually been to a whole death match show, and
Mhm.
I've seen some crazy stuff like people lighting glass on fire. I remember a light tube getting used, and part of that, one of the parts of the ends that usually goes into it,
Mhm.
flew off and hit me in the foot.
Oh,
And I didn't know that when I bought my ticket to the show that it included an entry into the raffle for an event used item,
okay.
and that would get autographed by everybody. I didn't know that I won until the guy that ran the promotion walks up and hands me a section of a door.
Oh wow.
Blood still on the door.
Yeah. I would say that deathmatch style and those deathmatch shows aren't for everybody. Let's be honest.
No, that is true. That is definitely true, because I think one time I actually made the mistake of watching a death match in front of my mother-in-law. And she's like,
Oh,
"Isn't that shit illegal?"
I completely agree with her. Some of those things that they do should not be allowed. But I think
Oh yeah.
everybody wrestling has different styles for everybody. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, there's definitely promotions that kind of give everybody a little bit of everything. I like one of the shows that I've been to that actually had my first ever, I consider, legit death match and not just like a hardcore match.
Mhm.
And yeah, they had a little bit of everything. They had the lucha libre, they had the death match, they had the scrambles, they had the regular American style. It was
The
like a little
women,
mix of
they
everything.
do the above, right?
Oh yeah, a little bit of everything. It was a fun time. I've actually had the ring announcer from that promotion on, and we talked about the atmosphere of those shows and it being like just a huge ass party.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's
But
good. It's good
oh
to vary the shows because just attracts different kind of people to your shows if you have like a variety of it.
oh yeah, no, because like like you've mentioned, there's different styles that everybody likes their own thing. Some people like a little bit of everything. So when you have that mix in there, you're able to attract more people.
Absolutely.
Now, excuse me. When it comes to your future, let's say outside of SoCal Pro,
Mhm.
where are some places you can see yourself going? Excuse me. I love my Dr. Pepper, but it gives me the burps like crazy.
Oh,
But
yeah, I try not to
when,
consume that much soda because yeah, it does to me.
but yeah, where are some places you could see yourself being in the future in the wide world of wrestling?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think everybody's goal is to one day make it to WWE because, to be honest with you, that's the biggest. That's where the money's at. That's where everybody wants the money.
Oh yeah.
That's where I would love to one day end up at. But if you ask me where I would like to wrestle at, I've always been a fan of Impact TNA.
Okay.
That's
And
all.
I mean,
Mhm.
I was just gonna say, in my opinion, TNA Impact, one of the, like, as far as promotions that have national exposure, one of the most underrated programs right now. That, like, they
Absolutely.
have a lot of solid talent. It's just, I think personally, with the channel that they have, and not so many people having that and having to go through different means to watch it, their reach isn't what, like AEW or WWE is, but they still got a solid program.
Yeah, I actually started watching it again recently, and their shows were pretty solid. Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
uh I think that's a little bit more a little bit more reachable for me than WWE it is at this point. However, I'm always shooting for the big stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh no, man! Hey, you gotta have that goal. Maybe sometimes a bit more of the long term, but then you have those short term ones to kind of build your way up to that. And a lot of people that have been through Impact have either already been there or they're on their way up, and they're one of their next stops is WWE. It's happened. So
Yeah, no, I mean there's a lot of former Impact wrestlers in WWE and AJ Styles and freaking Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley.
true.
After he left WWE, went to TNA, made a name for himself, and came back. You know what I mean? It's
Oh yeah, no, totally. All those guys are great examples of that.
absolutely. And even
Now, oh, go ahead.
like the guys that didn't really do much in WWE after being in Impact, like like an Eric Young or a Drake Maverick,
Oh,
they could
true.
still say they were part of WWE coming from Impact.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, even some. Excuse me, I mentioned getting over a little something,
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
guys like I like listening to their podcast, the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, the
Mhm.
Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. That
Right, right.
them. I mean, Matt Cardona not so much in Impact right now, but Brian
Everywhere
Myers
else.
still they they've had their, well, air quotes, impact, pun intended, there.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, I have two categories that I kind of like to round things off. One's a bit of a name game where I try to, as much as possible, name off some people that you've shared a ring with, at least shared a locker room with. And you know what? Every now and then I throw in a wild card, and
Okay.
you just give me your thoughts on them.
Name association. Gotcha.
First one, a guy that I've actually had the chance to meet. I've got to meet him and other members of his group, the Second Gear Crew. Matthew Justice.
Matthew Justice. Wow. Yeah. I got to wrestle him. I want to say late December 2021. Um, he beat the fuck out of me, but it was fun. It was fun. I would admit I had fun. You know, what I mean, I think he might have. I thought he broke my nose, but no, I'm fine though. It was fun. I had a great time with you. I think the beating was worth it.
Oh yeah, no, I can only imagine. Like, I remember, I've had some of the guys respond to tweets that I've done about it, where I've joked that Second Gear Crew matches should be sponsored by Home Depot, with all the shit that gets all over the ring, the
Yeah,
doors, the chairs, and all of that.
yeah,
And
yeah. he broke a clipboard over my head that day. So yeah, that could be Office Depot too.
You know what? Add Office Depot in there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Home Depot and Office Depot. They need to be sponsoring them because, good Lord, the amount of plunder that goes on in their matches.
They should come out with 5 shorts and have them like the MMA, like UFC used to have them.
Oh, yeah. No, and like I think Matthew Justice even sometimes has one of those like jean jacket vests that I've seen him wear, and, have the sponsorship things all around there, kind of like a NASCAR.
Yeah, that's some money right there. Just to consider that.
Hey, maybe one of them will end up watching this, and we can get that little idea going on in their head.
Before you move on, I have an objective for this podcast. I want to have more views than the one you did with Tommy Wilson. Because I love Tommy Wilson. I know he only got like 47 views or something, so I want to have at least 48 so I can view it. And then I'm gonna rub it in his face.
You know what? We will definitely try to aim for that. And you know what? You brought him up. Why don't we go with him next? Tommy Wilson, the current, correct me if I'm wrong, SoCal Pro Heavyweight Champion.
Current SoCal Pro Heavyweight Champion, current One Ring Circus Heavyweight Champion, and I forgot what the third promotion was, but it's run by my boy Ruben Iglesias. Tommy Wilson, okay. I only met him like last year, but I formed a great friendship with him. Tommy Wilson is like someone I could just go ahead and talk all this dumb shit with because he has no filter, and I freaking love that guy.
That's one thing I definitely love about him too. And I mean, I remember I had kind of lost track of him, but then when SoCal Crazy had his benefit show, I think it was some point last year.
It was in November of last year. I was there.
You know what? I was wanting to say I saw you there, and I heard him and
Matt
Thrash on commentary, and I was just rolling the entire time.
Yeah, Matt Thrash was calling me Eddie Christmas, and he just gives me all these stupid nicknames, and I'm just like, fuck you, dude. But yeah, he's funny as hell too.
You know what? Speaking of him, as of recording this is recording on a Thursday. His episode, as of recording this, comes out tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I will definitely check that out.
Yeah, sure. that was a fun one. Definitely a lot of laughs.
He's got such a mouth on him. Yes, I'm sure. I'm definitely gonna check that out. Yes.
Okay. Dog being weird. Anyways, like I said, I sometimes add in a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, an absolute legend in every aspect of wrestling. Rey Mysterio.
Oh, wow. Well, Rey Mysterio is one of the guys I grew up watching. When I in my early years, when he was in AAA back in like 95, 94, or something like that. My mom used to say that he was like 14.
He did get a start rather young, didn't he?
My mom used to tell me he's like a 14-year-old wrestling, and I lost track of him because when he moved to the US, I still lived in Mexico at that time. But I caught up to him back in like 2000 when he was in WCW without a mask. To be honest with you, he's one of the guys that inspired me to wear the horns because he used to wear horns.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yes, that was my favorite stage of Rey Mysterio's career, with the one without the mask. I know everybody looks down on it, but I feel like that was great. Like the Filthy Animals were great. He had a lot of personality without the mask. It was great.
Oh yeah, no, you could definitely tell there was a little bit of that swagger that he had when he had the horns with the Filthy Animals. Yeah, no, you know what? Definitely I about said underrated, but definitely an overlooked portion of his career, because a lot of people they don't like the fact that he got his mask taken off, but nobody really thinks about some of the cool aspects that came out of it.
Yeah, and like I said, he got to show his personality on without the mask. I actually, most of my early outfits were inspired by Rey Mysterio, like the ones with the suspenders
Mm.
and like the inmate outfits that I wear sometimes. The horns, a lot of those things were inspired by Rey Mysterio back when he was unmasked. Because
Okay.
he used to dress differently. He never wore the same thing, and it's just different.
Don't definitely totally agree. And now I remember when he first got to WWE after, you know, the time away. And I remember thinking, wait, now they're putting the mask back on him? And it's like, yeah, whatever.
He actually, when WCW went under and they didn't pick up Ray's contract, he actually ended up in CMLL.
I was one to say, I thought he definitely went somewhere during that time.
He was there, and yeah, I used to watch him and Juventud that went there, and Psychosis went there. They all ended up there after WCW went under between their stage at WCW and WWE.
Gotcha. Because like I said, I wanted to say he went somewhere. I just couldn't remember where.
Absolutely.
Now, I have some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. You give me first answer that pops into your head when you hear the question.
Ask away. Go right ahead.
First one, craziest in-match moment for you.
Wow. Um. Okay. This happened. I want to say like mid 2019. It was a Cinco de Mayo festival that we were doing here in Old Town San Diego, and I was wrestling this guy who was really like pretty much not. I wouldn't say he was new, but he was one of those guys that hadn't learned how to control his rhythm yet.
Ah,
And I asked him, and yeah, I ended up. I was giving him a signal to give me to leapfrog me, and I was gonna go underneath the leapfrog, and then we ended up butting heads because he went under and I went under. We ended up butting heads, and he got knocked unconscious. He was knocked unconscious.
oh,
Yeah, and I just didn't know what to do at that point, so I just pinned him, and that was it.
yeah. No, that would be a crazy moment for sure. I know.
It was
I've
scary.
actually.
He was moving,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, I can imagine. I know I've witnessed a couple. Well, one I actually witnessed in person when a guy went to do a high crossbody off the top rope,
Mm-hmm.
and he ended up landing on the guy a little high. So when the guy caught him and they went to the ground, the guy's neck just wrenched wrong, and they ended up having to stretcher him out. And that was kind of scary because he was not moving even when they were carting him out. It was like, ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. It's pretty scary to know your opponent's not moving because you're just like, man, did I just mess him up? Yeah, it's a scary feeling.
Oh no, I can totally imagine. And then the other one I didn't witness in person, but I've had like literally people were telling me like clear through when he went to the hospital. Guy in a match where they had a weapon, guy took a screwdriver and ended up getting a little too close to this guy's eye.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a little crazy. Next question. I consider myself a bit of a movie buff, but I definitely have my favorites. What would you say a favorite movie of yours would be?
Um, I'm not much into movies, but I have seen movies that I like. Like the other day, I'm not really open to watching new movies these days because I don't know. I just lost faith in movies these days. However, I could always go back and watch some Scarface. I could always go back and watch Blood In, Blood Out. I could always go back and watch the Harold and Kumar movies.
Okay. No,
Pretty great.
nothing wrong with that. Some classics right there for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, the most recent thing I watched on the theaters was the Jumanji movies with The Rock, and that's been so long.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not really a movie guy, but
Nothing wrong with that. I know more of the movies I watch tend to be some of the older ones. I haven't been to a theater in a long ass time.
same.
Next up, a question that with the name of a show like Drinkin' at Moe's, I would feel kind of weird if I didn't have this question, but I switched it up to kind of be a bit of a two-parter.
Okay.
Favorite drink, whether alcoholic, non, or one of each.
Okay. So my name is Straight Edge Eddie Islas. I am straight edge. I have not had
Okay.
alcohol since 2012 or 2013, I want to say.
That's awesome.
Since I was in my early 20s, I have not had a sip of alcohol, and I'm pretty proud of myself for that. And I know
that is something to be commended. That's awesome. I've always said that drinking a Moe's, just because it says that, doesn't mean that drink has to be alcoholic. So
no, I get it. And also, like, I get your show is called Drinking at Moe's, but I could be around people that are drinking and I have no urge to do it or no willingness to do it. So I'm already used to stuff.
no,
But I mean, if I want to grab a favorite drink, I mean, I like ginger ale. I like pink lemonade, strawberry lemonade, water for sure. But yeah, that's how. I mean, I like iced tea as well, but just non-alcoholic.
now, Nate, nothing wrong with that. I know. I love a good lemonade. Like
Absolutely.
I'm more when it comes to lemonade. I'm more of the regular lemonade type of guy. I mean, I do like some of the pink or the strawberry stuff, but give me a good old lemonade any day. I'm good. And tea, I will admit I'm more of a sweet tea guy, but when my first year in the Navy, most of it was spent down south in like Florida, Mississippi, Alabama.
Mhm.
So I had the good shit.
Right.
Like in the like gallon milk jug things that they just make at home.
Wow. Yeah, no, tea wise, I like Arnold Palmer's. Have lemonade, have iced tea. That's just it's great. Yeah, you have the best of both worlds there, man.
Oh no, totally. I you know what? I didn't even think of that when we started talking about the both, but that is definitely good.
Absolutely.
Next up, question that I've heard people ask before, and it definitely gets me thinking every once in a while. What would you say your spirit animal would be?
Spirit animal? Like what animals do I like, or what do you mean?
Sure.
I mean, I love ducks. I'm a fan of ducks.
Okay.
I don't know if
That's some that haven't really thought about before, but me being a fan of Disney that I am, and thinking back to the Mighty Ducks, there was a little bit of an example when in that movie when the coach was trying to tell them the new name of the team, and they're all like, "Oh, the Ducks," and then they got to explaining it.
Right.
Thinking back on that, I'm like, okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, ducks
Pretty
are
cool.
ducks are. I mean, if you think about cartoons, you have like Daffy Duck and Donald Duck and Donald Duck's freaking nephews.
It's Scrooge McDuck with the whole duck tail.
Yeah. He's rich. What else do you he doesn't envy anybody. He's rich.
He's swimming in his own money.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, and like I remember, speaking of ducks, like I remember when I was at boot camp for the Navy, and outside of our building, there'd be this patch of grass that had like a drain somewhere in the middle. But every time it would rain, that area would fill up with water. And then every time it would fill up with water, there would be a group of ducks that would just go flying in there. And I don't know why, but every time we'd be in line for chow, I just start looking out there at the ducks. Like, you're in the middle of that place. You don't see a whole lot of animals. So when you get something normal like a duck, it's like, oh, okay,
Like,
I can think about something else besides the pure craziness I'm going through right now.
dude, it's crazy because if you think about ducks, they're well disciplined because when they walk in a line. That's just
Yeah,
it's like you gotta train somebody to do that. It's just weird how they're like naturally disciplined to walk in a line behind each other. That's just crazy.
you know what? That is kind of interesting because I remember being at the zoo here in town, and there's this big blob right next to a duck, an older duck, and upon closer look, it's like, holy crap! There's like this whole big mess of like little tiny baby ducks just following it around everywhere it went, and just like attached to it. So there's that discipline of being in the line, and then there's that discipline of sticking right next to the mother duck or whatever they would call it.
Yeah, it's so interesting once you think about it because I seen a video of ducks just walking around in the line, and all of a sudden the wind comes and they blow them away, and they go back in line and keep walking. It's nuts.
But you know what? That it is pretty interesting when you actually get to thinking about it. That is for sure. Now, last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Um, I the best advice I could give that kind of worked for me was be open to suggestions. Be open, listen to suggestions, listen to the people that are already there. Like if I could give you an example, when I first started wrestling, I used to have a mask gimmick, but that mask gimmick wasn't taking me anywhere. And Anthony Idol, he suggested that I became a cholo, and I was really resistant to it at first because I didn't want to break the Mexican tradition of unmasking myself.
Mm.
But after a while, I just thought, I'm not getting booked anywhere, and this is not working out for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take his advice, and I did, and that's how Eddie Islas became Eddie Islas.
Hey, I love a good origin story there. Kind of going back to some of the stuff we first talked about, because everybody when they're starting out, it's not always smooth sailing. You might go through a couple different gimmick changes, but then when you find that one that hits, it's like, hey, we got something here.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is, like I said, I was a little resistant to the idea of changing my gimmick, but once once I noticed that I wasn't really important as the other characters or gimmick, I decided to listen to Idol. I took his advice. I got myself a little cholo song and started coming out with high socks and the bandana. The horns came later. The horns didn't come automatically, but they came like a year into my original run. But yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
awesome. Definitely good advice because if you wouldn't have been open to taking that advice, who knows where you might have
I
been right now.
wasn't even be wrestling anymore at this point because I wasn't doing anything.
No, true. And we'll talk about. I got something for after we're done recording. Speaking of cholo, but before we go, any where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on Eddie Islas, they can go ahead and get them there.
I am on Instagram, Eddie Islas 32. I used to have a Facebook account. I have one right now, but the one that has the most followers got hacked and I couldn't recover it. So it's a guy scamming people for money. So if you guys see the Eddie Islas account that has the black and yellow outfit and the purple ring, block him because he's just trying to get a buck out of me. But yeah, I my other account, I'm wearing a gray outfit. So
I
if you
was
see
wanting to say that's. I was wanting to say that's the one where I have you added there.
if you see the gray outfit, that's the one you want to add. And
All
yeah,
right. We'll get all that in the description. But anyways, that's about all I have. Want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight, and best of luck out there with some of them upcoming shows, and we'll see about getting this episode more views than Tommy Wilson.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Well, Ed, thank you for having me. Regarding the next upcoming shows, I'm not wrestling right now. I have an injury that I'm dealing with, but definitely be back as soon as I'm clear to go because someone needs to get their ass kicked for it.
Hey, you know what? Take the time you need because you don't want to get back too soon and then end up getting put out for longer.
Absolutely. No, I'm definitely taking this easy. I'm working on, I'm recovering right now. I'm currently in recovery. And yeah, I got a couple of people in my freaking hit list that need an ass kicking. So.
All right. Well, they're going to learn when you get back.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good one.